My English name is Carrielynn Victor, and I am Xémontalot from Chiam, which is a small village below Mount Chiam on the banks of the Fraser in the Fraser Valley. And I'm an artist and pretty active locally in the community. Our community has a very active culture and um, big families, keeps us pretty busy through the year. I like to live seasonally, and I have one son and a partner and a very large cat. Sustainability is a question, is a request that I always ask of my artist. Um, I find I have a bit of a hungry artist, always wanting the newest tools and the newest technology, always looking for new things to kind of grasp onto. And so my request really is just to slow down and look at what I have. What can I do um, to inform the practice with local fibers, with local dyes, um, and how to harvest those sustainably, like in a good way. But um, as a muralist, I find it a little difficult to have a sustainable practice. And so, what I will do with my leftover paint is offer them in kind to community, because I often have a great deal of leftover interior and exterior paint. With each new project comes a new palette. But I do shop local and recycle those products when I can. More recently, I started doing some work at home. And when I do the work at home, I'm able to work digitally. And so I switched from paper products, which would create stacks and stacks of paper art books, drawing books. I switched to digital for a lot of things, not for everything. Naturally, I can't get all the same textures and motions and everything digitally. So some things have a very sustainable approach. A lot of my work too will focus on, if there's a great deal of travel, I'll try to book everything in the city in one day so that I can go kind of site hopping all on one day rather than driving back and forth to the city, which is sometimes 3 hours in traffic from here. And sometimes art days look like walking, um, walking in the local landscape, creekside, forest, things like that, gaining those understandings and inspirations. Historically, here, the Coast Salish people have always um, woven fibers, grasses, sedges, ferns, cedar bark, but also we had a really special breed of dog that's now extinct. In English, it's called the woolly dog. And the woolly dog was special because its fur was used in combination with local sourced goat wool to weave. So those fibers were cleaned and spun and dyed with typically plant-based dyes, some fungi, and um, those colors are a big source of inspiration for me. Um, but I can't always get the color I want in a natural dye onto a mural or into a painting. On occasion, I have used stinging nettle uh, to produce like a dark pigment, and used it like a watercolor. I find plants to be really inspiring, in that um, we we're the babies in this on this earth, and we can learn so much through our observations with plants. I love wild tiger lilies, root, stem, flower, and seed. And of course, what comes with these plants are the ecosystems that they live in and the connections between those plants. And the cues that they give to the environment around them and the insects and creatures that interact with them and around them, and the trees that they need to give them the right conditions to grow and things like that. So focusing on one plant often leads to focusing on an ecosystem. And I love anatomy of plants, and behavior and interactions between them, and how that can inform the way that an image is laid out, like in a composition. A number of things I hope to communicate are place-based story. Always, I believe that our answers here of how to live on the land are embedded within the oldest stories we have. Even though the land base is changing, um, people living in relationship with the natural cycles is a sustainable way of living. Some things I hope to relay are as simple as beauty and acceptance. Um, on occasion, I'll speak to gender, and some plants carry both genders, and some reveal gender through time, or switch genders through their growth process. And I get excited by that, and what us humans in our evolution and understanding of gender can benefit in that. Art speaks in a way that words don't, and it always has, right? And people who are observing, or are the audience for an art piece, um, feel something. It resonates almost instantly in some cases, and I like to layer meaning in that way. Sometimes I'll say something difficult in a quiet and deliberate way through the art, on site in a specific location, and then I'll be asked to share a few words about it when we launch the piece, and it's difficult. And so I really enjoy being able to use imagery and symbolism to um, speak to things that are difficult to say in words. It's a language for sure. I totally believe that art can shift and change our minds. And I think artists are partially responsible for reflecting the world of the day. I always paint my river brown, because our river here is brown. It's affected heavily by deforestation and mudslides and wildfires now. And so our river just doesn't, you can't drink out of it anymore. And even though it's water, people say water should be blue or turquoise or something nice. Unfortunately, that's not our reality. And so part of what I feel is responsible for is creating a truthful view of the world that we live in. And so reflecting back those things that might be hard to talk about, or that might just be our reality, is one thing, but to remember too that our creative gift and our creative mind it is partially um, for adapting to the world and to our needs, even if that's just for us and our little families, right? We don't all have the worldwide solutions for things, but to be able to observe and create small change around us in creative ways is a very satisfying thing as an artist.